Hello everyone, welcome to another math online lesson. Our lesson for today is about the measures of central tendency. We have the mean, median, and the mode. The mean is simply the average of the given set of data, while the median is the center of the given set of data, and the mode is the most frequent or repeating data in the given set of data. We have the symbol of the mean here, the x bar, and for the median we have the wiggle x and the mode. Now, how do we compute the mean of a grouped data? So I have here an example. So the data represents the ages of 40 persons that is allowed to have a COVID-19 vaccine. Now let's try to construct a group frequency distribution table with 5 classes and determine the mean of the given data. Now, in constructing a distribution table, we need to calculate first the class width. So calculating the class width is simply find the range first and then divide it by the number of classes. So for the range, all we need to do is locate the smallest value and the largest value of the given set of data, and then just subtract the largest value by the smallest value to get the range. So we have our range as 27 minus 13, and then let's divide it by the number of class, which is 5. So we have our class width as 2.8. So constructing a distribution table. So let's try to arrange our distribution table in ascending order. So we'll start at the lowest value, which is 13, and then let's go ahead and add our class width. So we have 13 to 15, 16 to 18. So I'm using here the whole number 2 for the class width, and then 19 to 21, 22 to 24, 25 to 27. So we have 5 classes here. You can also round off our class width to the nearest whole number, which is 3. In this case, if you want to use 3, um, this would be 13 to 16 now. But like I said, I'll just use the 2 as our class width. So in here, all we need to do for the frequency is to count how many data falls in between 13 and 15. And base here we have 3 data falls between 13 and 15. Next, 16 to 18, we have 11 data. And in between 19 to 21, we have 14 data. And in between 22 to 24, we have 7 data. And in between 25 to 27, we have 5. So our frequency here, if we total the number of frequency here, it should add up to the total number of data, which is 40. And since we already have our frequency distribution table, we can now calculate the median of our group data using this formula, wherein median is equal to the summation of fx divided by the summation of f, wherein here f stands for the frequency, x stands for the class mark is the midpoint, fx is the product of the frequency and the class mark, the summation of f of x is the sum of the product of the frequency and the class mark, and summation of f is the total frequency, and you have of course the mean. Now since we have a class mark here, let's go ahead and add another column in our table for the class mark. So to calculate the class mark, simply add the lower limit and the upper limit and then divide it by 2, since class mark is the midpoint of your boundary. So you have 13 plus 15 divided by 2 is equal to 14. 16 plus 18 divided by 2 is equal to 17. 19 plus 21 divided by 2 is equal to 20. 22 plus 14 divided by 2 is 23. 25 plus 27 divided by 2 is equal to 26. There. And then all we need to do is add another column here for the fx, this one. And all we need to do is to multiply the frequency f and the class mark. So 3 times 14, you have 42. 11 times 17 is equal to 187. 14 times 20 is equal to 280. 7 times 23, you have 161. 5 times 26, you have 130. And since we need to get the sum of fx, so adding all these numbers will have 800, and we all know that the frequency is equal to 40. So now we all have the data here for the numerator and denominator. So all we need to do is to substitute the values that we calculate. So our mean would be equal to 800 divided by 40, and then we have our mean as 20. Now how do we calculate the median of the group data? So we'll be using again the same data that we have when we calculate the mean. So we already have this frequency distribution table. Now let's go ahead and solve the median of this group data. Now calculating the median for this group data, we need this formula, wherein the median is equal to the lower boundary of the middle class plus the summation of the frequency divided by 2 minus the cumulative frequency divided by the frequency of the middle class times the class width. So we have here LB stands for the lower boundary of the median class or the middle class. Summation of the frequency divided by 2, this is the total frequency divided by 2. CF stands for the cumulative frequency of the lower class next to the median class. Please take note of this one. It's the cumulative frequency of the lower class. Okay, so this is very important. The cumulative frequency of the lower class next to the median class. Later on, you'll know why this is very important for you to remember. Then FMC, this is the frequency of the middle class or the median class. And of course, I is the class width. So let's go ahead and find the values for these given variables. Now using the same frequency distribution table that we had earlier, so the median class, this is the class with the smallest cumulative frequency, greater than or equal to the summation of the frequency divided by 2. Now let's go ahead and calculate the median of the given group data. Now since we have another variables here, let's go ahead and add a different column in our frequency distribution table. So we have here the cumulative frequency. Now how do we calculate the cumulative frequency? It's simple. Since our group data is arranged in ascending order, meaning it starts with the lower boundaries going to the higher boundary. So first, copy the frequency of your lower boundary, that is 3. And then next is you need to add this one to the frequency next to your lower boundary. So you have 3 plus 14, I mean 11 is equal to 14. 14 plus 14 is equal to 28. 28 plus 7 is equal to 35. 35 plus 5 is equal to 40. Now this is very important. Please take note of this one. Your last cumulative frequency should be equal to the total frequency here. If not, then there must be something wrong when you add the cumulative frequency and the frequency here. So you need to double check. The last number here should add up to your total frequency, which is 40. Now, let's try to calculate our summation of the frequency divided by 2. This is the easiest one because you already have the frequency as 40. So divide this one by 2, you have your summation of the frequency divided by 2 equal to 20. And then next, we need to locate the median. Earlier, we mentioned that the median or the middle class is the smallest cumulative frequency greater than or equal to 20, or the summation of f over 2. So let's try to locate now um, the cumulative frequency greater than or equal to 20. So in this case, it's this one, 28. Therefore, if this is the cumulative frequency of the middle class, then 19 to 21 would be our median class or the middle class. And the frequency of our middle class is 14. So 14 here becomes our F and C in our formula. So again, we already get the value for this one. We already get the value of this one. So we need to get the value of the cumulative frequency, and it says that the cumulative frequency is the value of the lower boundary next to the cumulative frequency. So the next lower boundary of our um, middle class, the cumulative frequency or the median class is 14, not 35. It should be on the belongs to the lower boundary, which is on this part, since this is the median. Okay, so our cumulative frequency now is 14. So we already have the data on this one. We only need to find the data for the lower boundary and for our I, which is the class width. Now to get the lower boundary, simply get the lower limit of your middle class, which is 19, and subtract it by 0.5. So 19 minus 0.5, you have 18.5 as your lower boundary. And next, the last variable, which is I. To get the class width, simply subtract any of two consecutive lower limit. So we can use, in this case, I subtracted 16 and 13, which is 3. You can also subtract 19 by 16, same answer, 3. So your I is 3. Now we all have the data. All we need to do is to substitute this one into our formula. So we have the median equals to the lower boundary, which is 18, that one, plus you have the summation of the frequency divided by 2, which is 20, minus the cumulative frequency, which is 14, divided by the frequency of the middle class, which is 14, times your class width, which is 3. And then from here, this is a simple simplification of terms. I'll just bring down 18.5 and then simplify what's inside this parenthesis first. 20 minus 14, you have 6 over 14 times 3. 6 over 14 times 3, you have 1.29, and then add these two, you'll have the median as 19.79, which is in between our middle class. So this is how you calculate the median in a group data. So I hope you learned something today, how to calculate the mean and the median of a group data. And see you on my next online lesson.